I know a lot of people will hate to hear this, but stay tuned in. It really is. Now, more and more people, we launched plant-based food at HOWND only 6 months ago, and people were really unaware about how huge the global carbon paw print is of meat-based diets. Most people think that their pet food, if it's meat-based, probably comes from the leftovers, of slaughter for human food. But it's not true. 30% of animals raised for livestock worldwide is actually destined for our pets' food bowls.
Oh, wow, that's a big number. And are there any
It's
specific benefits to animals eating this kind of diet as opposed to a meat-based one?
I'm not a veterinary expert. I do have a brand, obviously, that makes plant-based food, but there are huge benefits. About 10% of UK dogs are allergic to meat-based proteins. So our food, it's plant-based, and dogs can not only thrive in it, but I have a rescue myself. I've only had her for 3 months. She came with like big patches in her coat. Her hair looked terrible. She was itching all the time. And I can't tell you the transformation, but it's not just my dog. I hear it from people already on the food. And someone even wrote to us to say that the plant-based food has literally brought her dog back to life, because some animals really are allergic to dairy and meat. So it is the only way really that is 100% hypoallergenic.
It's mad you say this, because I'm also a dog owner, and my dog is one of those breeds that is also quite prone to being obese, and she's also got allergies. She's had the patchy skin, and her diet has to be managed so carefully. So is this something you hear quite a lot from your customers who end up changing from meat-based diets to plant-based diets for their dogs?
One is, I'm curious what dog you have that's prone to obesity. Is it a Labrador?
It's a little King Charles Cavalier, but she just put on weight very easily.
Yeah. Or is she middle-aged like us? Okay, so the plant-based food can be high in protein, as a lot of meat-based foods, but low in fat. It's a lot lower in fat.
Now, often with supermarkets as well, you don't really see too many plant-based options. So how do you think a figure like Lewis Hamilton feeding his dog this diet will impact upon seeing more of those around your local supermarket, for example?
I think right now you'd never find it yet in a supermarket, but I think in the same way as human trends, pet trends often follow human trends. So in the same way, you go into a supermarket right now, Kerrie, and every shelf will have a vegan option, if not an entire aisle. And I think it will slowly happen with plant-based food for dogs. Right now, it's new to them. A lot of people are curious, willing to try it. You could go flexitarian for your dog for a while, maybe feed it only on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You could build up to 7 days a week once you're happy. But I think we will definitely see it more in pet shops and supermarkets. And it's not easy being the trailblazers of it, as the same way the first vegan brands weren't.
Well, a big question for you that quite a lot of dog owners might be thinking right now. What about costs? Because quite often when you see vegetarian and vegan products within supermarkets, for example, they are a little bit more expensive. So how does comparatively plant-based dog food compare to meat-based dog food price-wise?
Because so many billions of animals every year are killed, meat is actually quite inexpensive, whereas many years ago, back in the 1940s, 50s, it was a luxury item. So meat was expensive. But now in the Western world, it's become so cheap. So it looks like plant-based is actually a lot more expensive. And it actually is. But the more companies bringing out plant-based options, whether it's in the human industry or in the pet industry, it's going to become cheaper as the bigger companies probably start producing it and buying the ingredients more in bulk.
So it's almost like you get what you pay for. You're paying for a little higher quality is what you're kind of saying there.
But yes, and then you're not paying for it with your health. I mean, because it's so new, we can't say a dog is going to live 2 or 3 years longer on a plant-based diet.
That's so good to hear that it's also a growing business. Jo, we're definitely going to come back to you, but this whole idea of plant-based dog food has been met with some controversy. So I decided to get a scientist on board as well. So Dr. Arielle Griffiths, good evening. What does the science say here?
Yes, good evening. So interesting listening to Jo. I think I might repeat a bit of what she says, which is brilliant. But the science definitely says in humans, we know that a plant-based diet, a whole food plant-based diet, is far healthier for our health. It's healthier for our heart health. It keeps us slimmer. People who are plant-based live longer. And exactly the same goes for our dogs. Joe's quite right. The veganism actually started in the UK, and it started in the 60s with a dog that called Bramble, who actually lived till the age of 25. Her owner was a strong vegan activist in the 60s, and for 50 years she only ever fed her dogs whole food, plant-based foods like she had. And she not only had Bramble, who lived till 25, who was a little border collie rescue, but she had a German Shepherd that lived till 20, which is incredible,
wow.
and another dog that lived till 19. So she's the sort of the trailblazer for veganism in the UK, and this is all UK based. She lived in Somerset. So the history is there, and the future is definitely there with plant-based, because the science tells us that in humans it's so healthy. Our dogs have got the same bacterial microbiome, the same gut bacteria as we have. So if you live in a certain area and you drink certain type of water, we all have different gut bacteria. But they've actually shown that our pets have the same gut bacteria as us. So dogs that live in a plant-based household that are fed vegan food like their owners will have the same gut bacteria and obviously be as healthy as their own.
Thanks so much, Arielle, for giving us the scientific input there. Joe, before we go, where can people find your products if they're interested in putting their dogs onto a plant-based diet?
They can go to our superfood page at Dogs Love HOWND. That's HOWND.com. I know a lot of people will hate to hear this, but stay tuned in.